Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back. I had to push the live back a little bit. Sorry about that. Things happened around here, but I think everybody's good now and headed toward bed, so we should be good. I'll give it a few minutes to let everyone get in. We don't have a very long intro tonight. Sorry, I was checking my messages. So, again, if any of you are in the path of the storm, please be safe. I'm sorry, I was reading a message. One second, guys. Okay. I was hoping to have a co-host, but I might have been a little bit late for that. I don't know. We'll see. Hello, Butterfly. Thanks for coming in and joining us. I don't know if Joe's going to pop in or not. We'll see here in a minute. So we're going to go live with some updates. If you guys, I'm going to give everybody time to get in here though, and we'll keep going through the gist of things here with the storm. It is a Category 4 hurricane now, so it's a very dangerous situation for anybody in its path. Again, if you're in the path of this storm, do everything you can to stay safe. I hope if you are on the water or near the water, not just the Gulf, but the do what you can. It looks like it's going to be a dangerous one with all that water. Yes, Butterfly, it has changed here actually. I was outside for quite a while earlier. It was cold, it was a lot cooler today, kind of cold today, and it kept getting cooler as the evening went on, but the wind really began to pick up. And I'm pretty far away from this storm, and I'm on the west side, which is not the worst side of this storm or any hurricane, but this storm doesn't reach out as far on the west. Anyway, yeah, we're getting some pretty decent gusts out there. And they're pretty regular too. That was surprising. So it'll probably pick up throughout the night. So I can only imagine what they're getting there, because it hasn't come ashore yet. I'm going to try to pull up some radar here for us to look at. Signal all of a sudden. I think, I think I might have got disrupted for a second. With that said, if something happens and my live goes down due to this weather that's kind of coming in, Joe, if you don't mind, here he is. Let me get him up here. Before I should ask him first before I obligate. I know you got to go to bed in a little while, Joe, but if I go down for some reason, if you feel like it, we can go to your channel.
Yeah, we can work that out.
Yeah,
That's kind of like that's one of the reasons why people will ask, how can you be involved with Florida Search and Rescue when you live in Indiana? And I'm like, where is the best place to be when Florida gets hit by a hurricane? Anywhere but Florida.
it, you can. Yeah, I mean, you're right, because you can do. You could. I have a friend that works in the field as well, and he ended up management, preparedness, and all that good stuff. But yeah, because you can plan and get things moving.
Right.
Do all the
And
things that. Yeah.
And 90% of what we do is done not boots on the ground. And I mean, sometimes in some disaster responses, 99% of what we do is, or 100% of what we do is not boots on the ground. So there's a whole lot more to search and rescue besides like wading into floodwaters or swimming into floodwaters.
Yeah. That's so true. Um, it's like the staging and the logistics of it all, and what FEMA is. When the governor enacts a state of emergency ahead of the storm, that goes ahead and gets a lot of things in motion. Um, Even with the FEMA people who come in, and they're limited. It was a lot of good things came after Ivan. They really did. We had a lot of resources that did come in by the truckloads, I might add. But you can't stress how important that work is. If you're here and your resources become damaged, so you're the building you're in, or the power goes out, what can you pretty much your hands are tied at that point.
Right. And that's one of the key things that we had to figure out as an organization in our early days was because we have boots on the ground teams and their primary reason for doing what they're doing is obviously to save lives, but they get a hit of adrenaline when they go into an emergency situation, into a disaster, and they thrive off of that. And I can totally relate to that because I was a volunteer firefighter EMT for a few years, and anytime those tones went off on my radio, that adrenaline just immediately kicks in. Like you go from dead asleep in the middle of the night to 80 miles an hour, like in 2.5 seconds. And but if you're an NGO, a non-government organization, and you're dispatching and staging civilian members anywhere near a disaster, they can become a casualty and a drain on other resources, especially government resources. They can go from being somebody who's going to do a rescue to somebody who needs to be rescued in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there's a lot that, and especially when it's safe to go out, the rescues come immediately. They do. They're sitting there waiting, like you said, Saul. When you get everything prepared and you prepare for these events, um, as soon as it's safe, that's they just jump into action. We saw that after Katrina, right? Because there was so many rescues, and that was the first time rescues of that level, even from Andrew in the 90s. It wasn't like that because New Orleans was so low lying, and Katrina, the way it came in, it was so big, all the storm surge there, all that water, all those rescues had to take place off the rooftops. And somebody has to go in and get them and coordinate. You have to coordinate all these things.
Right. And FEMA has done a majorly commendable job of improving their responses over the last, I
Hmm.
would say, 7 to 10 years, especially since Katrina. But I would noticeably say over the last 5 years, where there are so many federal USAR teams that have been dispatched to Florida for this response, there's a good likelihood that there aren't going to be any NGOs that are any NGO response needed for this. And I say not any, with the caveat that we don't know yet what the damage is going to be. We don't know yet what resources are going to become overwhelmed,
Hmm.
and what people are going to allow themselves to be stuck in, in the on the second floor of a house that's being flooded and in the middle of the night. So without knowing that, the FEMA has sent a ton of resources in from other states. They have, I think, 28 USAR teams, and I don't know what the exact number that they sent in, but I would guess it's probably somewhere close to half of the USAR teams have been sent here, like at least 10 and maybe 12, maybe 14, um, have been sent to Florida for this response, which is what they're trained to do and what they're professionals at. But also their state resources. The state of Mississippi has sent some of their state USAR teams in. State of Florida has, I think, 8 or 10 state USAR teams, not federal teams, but state teams. that are all ready for this. So there's going to be a ton of resources thrown at this. And organizations like Florida Search and Rescue are just in a standby mode until we know what the extent of the damage is, what the extent of the needs are, because we're just a resource that's available to help when agency resources get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So like 911 is probably the most common one that gets overwhelmed first because cell towers go down, winds knock down power lines, and people end up just with like social media apps. So we're there to monitor the social media, and if somebody is calling for help on social media, then we need to vet that request and then forward it to the appropriate authorities. And in the end, sometimes we afford it to our own teams, but only when we have clearance from the local and state authorities to go in and help out.
Yeah. The state of Florida has gotten so much practice, you know, with this. They've gotten really good at their own state response to hurricanes. Um, we we don't have a lot of issues as far as that goes. Now FEMA, Ivan was a learning curve because, like I said, when Andrew happened, we had those tent cities that came up because they didn't have the FEMA trailers. That was never even thought of. And then after Ivan, we did. We didn't have places to live. And what was left to, because a lot of people lost houses. So now you all of a sudden have a need for people who need housing. And so the people who had housing available, what did they do? They decided to gouge. And it was a big deal. And a few of them got in trouble because price gouging unfortunately happens in Florida. But if you get caught and they prove you did it, you are in big trouble. It's not something to play with. But unfortunately, after Ivan, demand went up. You know, there wasn't a lot available, so pricing went way up. It never recovered from that. It stayed that way. Um, you have a lot of impacts once these storms come and go. Once they blow through and they go away, there's a devastation left everywhere. So their housing, your job could have been affected. What if you worked at a place like a restaurant or something and that has heavy damage and they can't reopen right away? Then what do you do? So there you go. A lot of things can start to happen. So there's always a lot of resources in place. When we lost everything to Ivan, I remember over the years hearing about the Red Cross. And when I was in school, I was a volunteer at the Red Cross. And I did that for like the whole year of school. And I think it was like fifth grade. So there were a lot of different things we were involved with and did. So I remembered you're supposed to contact the Red Cross. I remember they kept saying do it by phone. So I was like, I wonder what I contact them for. You know, we'd already get the insurance people and all that for the house, but so I called the number, and the lady asked me where I was, what kind of damage did we have, and what did we have, and I told her, and she said, "Okay, can I meet you there?" I think it was later that day or the next morning. I was completely shocked, and anyway, I met her. And standing there in the yard with devastation all around me and no house, she hands me a Visa card. And there's $800 on that card. $800 to go buy clothing and necessities that I needed just to be able to walk around society and not look like a hobo. Do you know what I mean? Um, that was a godsend. I mean, I didn't even realize that was going to happen. And she told me, she's like, I can see what happened to your home. Here, this is yours. And I was like, wow. I thought, like $100 or something to help you, but no, there was a little more than that. And it was so appreciative. And you don't realize the kind of help that is there to help and how much it's appreciated when it's given. Even down to those who are going to be out there. When people go without power for more than a couple of days, especially after a storm, it's not pretty. because it gets so hot and humid, it's unbearable sometimes.
Yeah.
That that
The,
water alone that you can get, um,
the, the general rule of thumb is once a community, and we've responded to several of the hurricanes in the last 7 years, and the initial, so there's different phases of it, and we're involved in all the different phases of it. It starts out with mitigation and preparedness, like just public information, be prepared and be ready. But then to the actual response to the disaster, like actually sending out people for search and rescue and dispatch and those. But then you have, after that, you have recovery. And once a hurricane goes through, if you're without power and water for 7 days, things get really, really desperate, really fast. And there were communities in Mississippi, and I can't remember the name of the hurricane, but it was about 3 years ago, where they had trouble getting in relief supplies. And people were getting on that 1 week window where they had been without power for a week and without major water supplies. I mean, they had some relief supplies coming in, but not nearly enough for the entire community. And it was getting pretty desperate. And that was just on the recovery side of things. I mean, that has nothing to do with wind damage. That has nothing
right.
to do with house damage. I mean, if you don't have a roof over your head, yes, that matters and that makes things worse. But if you don't have power and you don't have food and water, then you get in a desperate situation really, really
Yeah, you
quickly.
do. You do. And unfortunately, we've never really had, of course, you have to boil your water after these storms. Um, but I've never had an issue with losing like the water. But one thing we do here in Florida, and if you're new to the area, if you're new to Florida, or if you haven't thought about this, fill your bathtubs with water. If you've got one bathtub, three bathtubs, fill them with water. You're gonna need to flush your toilets. And you can take that water and you dip it out and you pour it to the back of your toilet. And you can flush your toilet each time. You know, um, some people will, I have a clean tub, so it's always clean. You can fill it up and use it for your dog's water. Because not only do you need water, but your cat and your dog are also going to need fresh water. And you can save milk jugs during hurricane season. Save the Kool-Aid jugs, the big juice jugs or whatever you get. Save some of those. I don't save them all year, who's got room for all that, but I will start saving them during hurricane season, and I'll put a few away. If I notice there's a storm out in the Atlantic making its way through the Lesser Antilles and the Cape Verde season, there's a whole bunch of different seasons we go through, and I can watch. But these come out of nowhere over here. But there's a lot of things you can do, and just fill those jugs with water and line them up in the hallway or wherever you can stash them. And you have ways then to water the animals or whatever, wash your hands. You gotta be able to wash your hands, different things. But there's all kinds of ways and things you can do that you have to do if you live in Florida. Because really, I've been without power for a week. There's nothing you can do about it. They get to you when they get to you, and it depends on how much damage. After Ivan, my grandfather literally, he was like the only one on the street that had an issue with the box that went on the pole. And we literally had a lineman from France here to help. And so my grandfather called him Frenchie, and they became friends because Frenchie was there for about 2 weeks from my grandfather's house because like it was older. It was something that was weird what they had to do to make it right to even get that back together. So he was without power for a longer time, and I was without for a week at one point with one storm. So you try to do things you can, but that's all given the and get your candles, emergency candles, your batteries. Make sure I got lanterns that recharge. I have a converter I can plug into my car, crank the car, plug in the cigarette lighter. Now I can plug in wall unit type stuff if I need to. And I can charge these little lights up, or I can, whatever. But I also have batteries for the flashlights and things like that. Um, Little things you can do that, and your food, get some food together for you and the kids, snacks. things y'all can make sandwiches out of. Get your coolers, get 3 or 4 of them, fill them with ice. But you
And
got to
don't
do all that stuff pre-storm.
and don't forget about medications.
Your medications are absolutely important, especially if you're going to evacuate as well. And what I do is, if it was getting real here, and like if I was going to stay home, everything I needed, like that emergency stuff I needed, would be in a little to go bag, literally right by me. Because as things get real, I gotta go. It's my shit and get bag.
Right.
This is what I call it. But it,
We're now up to 140-mile-an-hour sustained winds. We're not
oh,
we're we're not far from Cat
that's
5.
not Cat 5. That's not. Um,
Cat 5 is, I think, 157, so we're still a little ways away, but we're definitely a strong Cat 4.
it
And
it's no
depending on,
different.
yeah,
Those gusts that made me. I just might need a moment for that. Hold on. Let me see if this is a refreshed update here.
yeah, it would be good to watch an update about now.
Yeah, let me grab it real quick. Was this? Uh-oh, I lost it. It was my guy up in Tallahassee. Okay, here we go. I don't hear any talking. It looks like just
Nope,
radar. Let's see.
I don't see anything. Oh, you mean on the video that you're checking out right now?
Yeah. Well,
Whew.
it look at that eye. Look. It did go actually northeast, just like they predicted. Oh,
Yes, it
Perry.
did.
Oh my God! Look, it's going right where Reed said it was going to go, right to Perry, Florida.
Yep.
He
Isn't that
was he
crazy?
was he was chasing. He's chasing right now. I don't know if he's in Perry or not, though. Now, that's not where it's at, right? It's not like that's where the predicted path's going. But let me see if we can. It's got a well-defined eye. These are the areas all through here. These guys are getting slammed with storm surge because these feeder
Well,
bands they wrap around.
the entire state of Florida now, I think, is under a hurricane force wind watch. I think the winds have picked up all across the
Yeah.
state.
Well, I was just telling them a few minutes ago. I'm still way over. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. I'm way over to the left of Panama City, even. Okay, so I was outside earlier and the wind gusts were really picking up. I was surprised because over to the right of the storm is your right quadrant. That's going to be always, always, always your worst side to be on. Been there. But the left side is bad, don't get me wrong, but it's the safer side to be on, the better side. But that wind field, it's pretty wide all the way across the top and it stretches all the way into my area. But I'm getting the lighter edge of what they're getting hell. If I've got some gust here as far away as I am from the center of that storm, I can only imagine.
And being on the good side of it, and being on
Yeah, and
the leeward
I
side.
think I'm way out of it. I'm not even under a watch or a warning. Okay, that's how far I'm away from that shit. I'm literally over here in the light and blue green, way over there on the left. Alabama Florida line, basically, is where I'm at. This is over here right under Tallahassee Perry, the Big Bend area. So the wind field stretches a pretty, and I'm 3 hours from Tally, roughly. So it's pretty good ways that wind field's stretching out either
If,
side.
if you were any further west, you'd start picking up a little bit of a Louisiana Cajun accent.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, got Mississippi and Alabama, got Alabama, Mississippi in between us. Thank you very much. I'm not Cajun. Um, I'm redneck Riviera. That's what we're known for down here at the Floribama line. We eat different. But Newport Richey, Spring Hill, all the and Perry, all along there is getting Let's see if we can find somebody talking though, so we can get an actual,
Yeah, that'd be good.
yeah, live update. Oh, let me go here. Let me go here. Get that down. Okay.
What kind of buildup in residential areas? It seems like it's a pretty rural spot.
Okay, we'll watch these guys for a few minutes. They are in Florida, near 140-mile-an-hour winds, as Joe was saying, with deadly storm surge. Let's give this a listen. Hi, Forrest. Welcome in. I didn't mean to be rude earlier. I did see you come in and say hi, and we appreciate you coming in. You are on the west coast of Vancouver Island. You're giving me a whole new appreciation for the bad. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Everybody has a brand of bad weather, but hurricanes are just so large. A lot of people are affected. So, but thank you for coming in and viewing this with us. But we'll listen to these guys for a few minutes.
In there. So if you were to get landfall, that looks like it might be a better spot than obviously closer to Tallahassee.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I mean, with Debbie, that was actually one of the things that was sort of helpful, was that this is a very rural part of the state. The Big Bend, or the Nature Coast, right, is fairly sparse. Perry is not a very big community. It's about an hour away from where I'm at right now. St. Mark's is about 40 minutes or so south of us. Those are both relatively small communities, and they have done everything that they can to prepare. Perry, in particular, is in Taylor County. I mentioned that sort of grim warning from the county officials there, telling people to mark themselves in case of a disaster. But a lot of that was in the coastal community, part of that county. That's where they're really worried about that kind of thing. 20-foot storm surge, potentially that is not survivable. We've heard so many experts say that. And you're right. I don't know what's going to happen with this storm. Nobody knows for sure. I sure hope it doesn't turn into a Cat 5. And I'm happy to hear a weather expert such as yourself say that doesn't sound likely given the short amount of time before landfall. But it is, again, on everybody's mind here at the EOC. These are some of the hardest working people in the state. In fact, they've brought in sleeping bags and cots because they are spending the night here, at least for tonight, maybe for a couple of days, just waiting to make sure that everything's back online, that the state is as good as it can be as quickly as possible after the storm passes.
Yeah, and I mean, and we're looking at the radar right now, and there's definitely a blowup of lightning in the northern eye wall. So, I mean, even if it doesn't go Cat 5, is there really much of a difference from 145 to 155? And in reality, it is going to be devastating. And that's, right there, that is it. Again, Forrest, thank you very much. Be safe out there. I'm sure we'll be checking back in with you later on tonight and again tomorrow. So as we continue to look at the Bay Area's issues, totally different than the area we were just talking about. And, we've been talking about Florida State and FAMU and Gainesville, the bigger universities in that part of the state. And FSU is right on the fringe of the heavy stuff, as is FAMU. Gainesville is actually more on the fringe on the right side of it. So honestly, I think Gainesville probably would see a little bit less impact than FSU or FAMU would. We've got a lot of parents who are obviously Gators and a lot of parents who are Noles. And, at this point, we definitely are right on the fringe, kind of in between the two. For us, we've been saying this from the beginning, we will not see sustained hurricane force winds, and we haven't. But unfortunately, what we are going to see are getting closer to that time. If you look at the high tides, all right? So these high tides vary wildly. A lot of these from Sarasota to St. Pete are closer to 2 a.m. Even Clearwater Beach was showing at 2 a.m. I've had some areas showing high tides between 10 and midnight. Honestly, anytime between 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and 1 or 2 a.m., you're going to see high tides. And they vary, obviously, because the water peaks in certain locations based on the geography. But at this point, and this is, by the way, what Jason and I were just looking at. Yikes. So you see our area, it's moving away. The worst is over in terms of the wind. We've had winds gusting up to 82 miles an hour. That was in St. Pete. But we haven't had the sustained winds that typically cause a lot of widespread damage. We're getting reports of trees down. We're getting reports of pool cages down. Unfortunately, as Wendy and Nadine have mentioned, there was a fatality from a sign that fell off of I-4 when you had a wind gust. But boy, this right here is what concerns me, because we talked about this about 3 hours ago. Remember when there were winds of about 100 and what was it at that point, Jason? It was it going before? Yeah, it was before it went Cat 4. It was like 115, 120. And we saw this blow up of lightning, which almost always means strengthening. Well, now all of a sudden you have a major blow up in the northern eye wall. And remember, this is rotating, okay? So I hate to say this, but in the western eye wall, that might very well be very, very close to Tallahassee. I mean, we're talking, there's such a difference in 10 miles. And you think, how is that even possible? Well, when you're looking at a hurricane force winds extend 60, 65 miles out. The maximum winds, the strongest, the extreme winds, probably only 5 to 6 miles, maybe 7 miles from the center, a very small area. So yeah, they're going to get, Tallahassee will see hurricane force winds. But if they can just scoot by the western eye wall, even if you're talking 4 or 5 miles, you might see a drop in 30-mile-an-hour winds in that area. It's going to be that close. But we can't candy coat this, regardless of whether they get Cat 4, strong Cat 4 winds or not. They're still going to have powerful hurricane force winds. Now, the arrow that points to Citrus County, is 82 miles away and moving northeast. So again, hurricane force winds extend 60, 65 miles out. If the center moving away is over 80 miles away, they will not see sustained hurricane force winds. And obviously for the Bay Area, it's now quickly moving away nearly 100 miles. So the winds are becoming less of an issue, but obviously the surge is now absolutely the biggest issue, and one that I think Wendy and Nadine were talking about a little earlier ago. That's what we're going to remember from this storm. I mean, whether we remember it like storms like Ian and like Charlie, like Michael, remains to be seen. But what we have now is a strengthening hurricane up until landfall. And that, unfortunately, is the worst case scenario. You don't have a storm that's showing weakening. You have a storm that's getting stronger as it's approaching the coastline. And that's really the last thing that you want to see. I mean, it really is. We are going to be getting extreme wind warnings coming up for these areas in the next hour.
Just issued.
We just had one. Yep. There you go. So, and that's really the worst advisory that you will see. We had them in Polk County with Irma. You get what's known as an extreme wind warning. Those are usually winds well over 100 miles an hour. So in that green box right there, those are extreme wind warnings. So in these areas, and that would include Tallahassee, you're expecting winds greater than 100 miles an hour coming up any minute. I mean, within an hour, but obviously you're already seeing the leading edge. And then you got this. And I think the reason they probably issued it is because of this, because that is just the worst thing to see, an intensifying storm as it gets closer. And, you know, you think, again, what's the difference between a Cat 5 at 155, 156, or a Cat 4 at 145? There's no difference. I mean, it's 10 miles an hour difference. Look at the last wind report. Newport Richey, Spring Hill, winds gusting to 79 miles an hour. Gusting, not sustained. But regardless, that's some serious, serious wind. Still 66 in Tampa. Now, even Sarasota and Bradenton in the upper 60s. And that's more than likely because this storm is getting stronger. And that's the problem. Now, as it moves inland, it will start to weaken, pretty quickly as it pulls away. But still, we are just looking at what could very well be for the Bay Area a record breaker because of the flooding. I mean, we've talked about that forever. I mean, that is where this has been the biggest issue with this storm for days on end. But yet, it's hard to wrap our head around these kind of numbers, right? When you see flooding potential, 8 to 12 feet, like, I mean, what does that even mean? I mean, I get it. We all understand what 8 to 12 feet is, but how many times have we seen anything like that? So it's just really hard to grasp it. And I think that's going to continue until the next 4 hours, because we're going to be seeing that over the next 4 hours in our coastal areas. Winds of 140 north-northeast. It is going quickly. That's good news in the sense that it will be out of here quicker. But boy, there's your track. I mean, I think we were saying earlier today, Western Taylor County, and I think that's exactly where this is going to make landfall. And you can see right there, it is getting very, very close to land. Technically, you get landfall when the center of the eye crosses land. And we are almost there. There will be yes, you'll get a new track in an hour and a half, but by then it will already have made a landfall. So there is our biggest issues, obviously the surge, and this is going to continue until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
I'm about to go find us some footage we can take a look at what's going on live. Joe, check the back comment there. I asked you a question to what you showed me. All right. So let me see if we can get. That's crazy that storm could still strengthen, even more, because usually the closer they get, like I said, they usually drop right back down to a 3. This one doesn't seem to show. Oh, I hear rain. Like blowing rain. Okay, I can't watch him. He'll get a little cow. Where is that guy we watched earlier that I liked him? Here we go. This is the one that weren't talking. I don't know what happened to them not talking. Here we go. This is out of Tampa. Now Tampa is over right where the news guy we were just watching was at, and it's moving away from that area because it was still out in the Gulf. I guess this is some localized coastal flooding for them. It's pretty good little choppy waves there. Live weather camera, Tampa, Florida. Okay. Okay. I think these guys said they were at Clearwater Beach, Florida.
Kind of like a river there, doesn't it? And this is right through Clearwater Beach. You see those homes there, one-story homes, and you wonder how they are faring right now. You worry that they may be taking on water, but you see the movement of the water kind of move right now. You worry story homes and beach. Tonight, you see, wow, it looks kind of like a river there, doesn't it? And this is right through Clearwater Beach. You see those homes there, one-story homes, and you wonder how they are faring right now. You worry that they may be taking on water, but you see the movement of the water kind of moving around there, and it gives you a sense the power of water. No matter how much we want to sand water like this.
It is so much water, and to think that there will be more, and we still have that wind that's out there. Just to, all of the things that we typically see in a storm like this, but just so much more, and still so many hours to go.
Right.
Notice how that water's just moving, right? No, Joe, I couldn't hear you. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Oh, I think I heard you. Let me see. I'm going to take you down, Joe, and put you back up. Hold on. Okay, are you there? Now, the wind is picking up a little bit here, and it's a little rainy out there, so it could be me having an issue. Were you guys, everybody okay? Was the video playing okay? Because Joe must have dropped down. He'll come back up. But if the issue was me, I need to know. So were you guys able to view that video okay? Okay. I'm going to let it play. Yeah, isn't it, Forrest, like to see that all that water that's, it came from somewhere. But the movement of the water, and I think people don't realize how powerful it really is, because there's like no stopping it, and it's going to just keep flowing. It's crazy. Uh-oh, what happened? Those are the people I don't think want nobody watching their stuff. Hold on, let me get back to where we were. Goodness. I think Joe's having an issue getting back up here. Hold on, Joe. Let me try something. Okay, I think he's back. Okay, are you back now?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can.
That was an adventure. Life is full of adventures.
Right. Okay. That was, I'm looking for... Here we go. What is this?
Yeah, I saw those stop signs in Clearwater, and they would look like they were half inundated. So I think stop signs are like 8 feet tall, so that looked like about 4 feet of storm surge, which should be able to be handled by most modern infrastructure in buildings and homes.
Okay, here it goes. Let me get it back up. Yeah, let's see. Share. Full screen. Okay, because there was more to this.
Tonight, you see, wow, it looks kind of like a river there, doesn't it? And this is right through Clearwater Beach. You see those homes there, one-story homes, and you wonder how they are faring right now. You worry that they may be taking on water, but you see the movement of the water kind of moving around there, and it gives you a sense the power of water. No matter how much we want to sandbag and board up our homes, it is really no match for water like this.
It is so much water, and to think that there will be more, and we still have that wind that's out there. Just all of the things that we typically see in a storm like this, but just so much more, and still so many hours to go.
Right.
Well,
Here's the thing about that is we have predictive models. So we have a national flood insurance program through FEMA that predicts how high floodwaters will go on a yearly basis. So you have something that's called a 1-year storm, a 2-year storm, a 10-year storm, a 100-year storm. They don't call it that anymore. They call it a 1% chance storm, a 10% chance storm, a 100% chance storm. But basically that says this area will only be flooded once every 100 years at this particular elevation above sea level. And that's throughout the country. That's in every community, every state. They all have predictive elevations that water will go once every 100 years. So Florida has probably got to be the most tricky state to predict that due to the hurricanes. Because, I mean, it just seems like every new hurricane that comes brings higher flooding than we've seen before in certain areas. Like Ian was that way in Lee County and Port Charlotte. They're in the southwest part of the state. And that bridge got wiped out. And the governor actually did a really good job of getting the bridge, the Causeway Bridge, rebuilt really quickly. But the predictive models, so if you live in a flood zone, you have to buy flood insurance. And if you build, well, you can't build in a flood zone. You have to build so many feet above a flood zone. So it's highly regulated and it's highly predictive. And it just amazes me how much these storms continue to challenge that modeling that our government geniuses have come up with.
Yeah, you're required to have flood insurance here, and even here, it's still crazy because Florida has outrageous insurance. It's been a battle here for years. It's been a heated debate politically for a long time. And I literally, man, they stood there in that house and wanted to say, well, okay, up to here was water damage, but above this line and above was wind damage. Two separate types, you're like, the flooding didn't want to cover this and didn't want to cover that. And the wind, it's crazy that they can't just, we understand the risk. When you're born and raised somewhere, what are you going to do? There's risk. There's higher risk when you build a home on the waterfront, so the insurance is going to be way, way higher. You're going to have to pay to live there. But it's like once it happens, though, even people who didn't live on the water, who just lived totally inland, in a neighborhood full of kids, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, tree falls on them, they could have been in a lot of trouble, even with insurance.
Right. Right.
And
then it becomes a dance between the insurance company and FEMA, because the insurance company is going to say, okay, we'll pay this on the claim, or we won't pay anything on the claim, or we'll pay all of the claim. But when you have a number of houses in a community, and this is going to be one of those situations where FEMA comes in after the fact and says this is a national disaster, the governor declared it a state of emergency and the president agreed. So then FEMA comes in after the fact, and it can literally take years and years and years. And there's so much red tape that the communities have to go through, and they have to go through the individual housing claims, and they have to go through the community claims. And my sister works for FEMA, and she helps those communities to get all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed. And it's still got to be probably, and I'm speaking for her out of turn, but it's got to be one of the most frustrating jobs in the world to just be involved in that process where people have actually suffered damages and the insurance won't pay, and FEMA is resisting paying them based on something you didn't sign or something you didn't fill out right, or the community or the city manager or the mayor or the public works department didn't fill out right in that process.
Yeah, well, because it took September, Ivan hit, I didn't have a place to live again until December, just about 2 weeks before Christmas. And it took me continuously trying to go up to the FEMA office that they set up. And I got so aggravated one day because it was all like just overwhelming. And everybody was trying to get things done and get help. And they really didn't know what they were doing at FEMA. They were just figuring it out as well. But I had to sit in the parking lot, and I decided I wasn't leaving that parking lot until something got accomplished. And I called them and got on the phone with them. I sat there for nearly 3 hours on the phone with them. By the time I hung that phone up, they issued me a FEMA trailer. And I had my choice of the 3 locations they were setting them up at. And I chose the one that was the most convenient for me for what I needed, close to work and things like that. It was a super headache, but we didn't plan for the house to get destroyed. The insurance taking forever and all those things that happen. And then what really was bad is the guy who technically owned the home. He we lived there with him, but we bought a camper and set it up on the property to live in. A lot of people did it. A lot of people went and got campers, or they already had a camper stashed somewhere, whatever. They were putting campers in their yards, and they were living in the campers on their land. Well, probably I think 2, maybe 3 months. It was the following season. It had to have been. We had another storm, so the guy takes his camper and moves it. And we don't know why, but he put it in a parking lot up on the highway. And when he told us, we were like, why did you put it in the parking lot, dude? It's going to blow away. No, it'll be fine. I'm going to go here and do this, and I'm going to not, ride it out over here. So after the thing was over, the storm came through. It was like a mild storm. We went over there to check on it for him because he was too far away. We got over there. There was no camper. I called him. I was like, dude, are you sure you put your camper in this parking lot at Lowe's? Yes. And I'm looking around and I'm like, uh-oh. He's like, what? I was like, I'm pretty sure that's your camper over there twisted up in the ditch. And it was. Like, dude, who does that? You lost your house during one storm, now you lost your camper in another. You should have took it with you wherever you went, and then it would have been fine. But I know. My God. Okay. Look at this. Let's see what this is. This is Franklin Bridge in Tampa Bay region, and this is a little earlier as it was moving through, skirting past the coast there of Tampa.
Oh, goodness. What are people doing driving on that?
They're not supposed to be. That's ridiculous, right? That's death. I mean, that's death wish, because those bridges are supposed to be closed. That's a statewide rule. 35-mile-an-hour tropical storm force winds, you close it. And nobody in their right mind is going to cross that shit. That will move your vehicle.
Yeah, 12 inches can move your vehicle. 24 inches of flood water will move your vehicle.
When it began to flood at the house during Ivan, I'm telling you, I shit you not, a full-size pickup floated down the road. A full-size Chevy conversion van loaded with supplies floated down the road.
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, oh my God. And they're just like, what's this big old gap right here where the poles are gone already? Your car could just gone.
That is so crazy.
What in the world? They're going in both directions. You can see the lights on the other side. Man, and that's in Tampa. Goodness. That's ridiculous. Okay, it's one thing to get caught off guard and stay somewhere you shouldn't have, but I would have not crossed the bridge. I draw the line. Okay. We're going to watch this one for a few minutes while I go to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
I'm here in
Come-
Hudson. Send it back to you.
Go
Come
ahead,
for
Joe.
break. Come
All
for
right,
break.
Julie, thank you. And we are waiting for Governor Ron DeSantis to talk and speak to the public in just moments. So as soon as he begins that press conference, we'll bring it to you live. Seems like a lot is happening right now because not only are we waiting for a possible landfall here, we're waiting for the governor. We also know that high tide
Are you still here,
starts kicking
Salty?
in around 11 o'clock as well. So you're going to want to stick
Pause
with
it
us
just
here
a
on ABC
second.
Action News.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, maybe it was Kemp's press conference from Georgia, because Kemp also had a press conference. One of them, and we're going to have to look at both. If it's not Ron DeSantis, we're going to have to check out Brian Kemp's press conference from Georgia. They had a sign language interpreter off to the side, off to our right, his left side. And I'm in no way disparaging sign language interpreters, and I don't know sign language, so I don't know what he was signing, but I swear that he was making some of that stuff up. The sign language interpreter was just absolutely nuts. Like he was really getting into it, which is cool. And if he's really signing what the governor is saying in the press conference, that's awesome. But there actually have been fake sign language interpreters caught. And I'm not saying this guy's fake. I'm just saying he is.
Well, the governor,
he's a little bit
DeSantis
out of
always
it.
has one. Oh, man.
So maybe it's that one. Maybe it'll be this one.
Maybe we'll see. So I guess the governor's going to give another press conference ahead of this storm making landfall. All right. So, well, now I'm going to be focused on the
This
Lord
sign language interpreter.
I know. Right? Okay. So we'll play this one while I go to the restroom, and I'll come back. So I want to watch the press conference.
All right.
Because reporters out there, and let's head out to Tarpon Springs where Mary O'Connell is live for us.
Hey guys, we're still monitoring this situation over at the sponge docks right now because this area is just completely underwater. For perspective, we're at Dodecanese Boulevard and Pinellas Avenue. We're right parallel, standing next to the Aegean Bar and Grill, if you know where that is. The water has basically come up to where we're standing at this point. We've had to move back several times. So I'll step out so you can kind of see. Again, I know it's very dark back here, but you might be able to catch a shimmer of the water to kind of grasp the gravity of how much water we're talking about here. There was at one point a city car that was in the middle there with a flashing light and its headlights on. It's been submerged past the headlights. The blinking light died at one point, so it's no longer there at this point. We've had some folks who are coming out to check on their boats out here to see how those boats were doing. We actually had people who were walking in the floodwater, which is obviously not advised, but to give you an idea of how tall that is, it went up to a woman's waist. So it is very high water here we're dealing with. And I know that these business owners had been taking all the precautions that they could, and we won't know until tomorrow and when we have daylight to know exactly what we're dealing with here. Those precautions, some of the business owners, we had a wall, flood barriers across some businesses. We had foam sealing doors. We had sandbags. We had tarps out here. These folks out here at the sponge docks are no stranger to flooding from storms. They saw it with Idalia. They certainly saw it with Tropical Storm Debbie not too long ago. So they know what it's like and they know how to prepare, and they take these storms very seriously. It's just really unfortunate to see all the water out here right now. Before I send it back, there was a gentleman that we were talking to out here. We've had a lot of people come out here just to see the image of all this water. He said in 38 years, he's never seen the water like this before. That's one person's perspective. Of course, tomorrow in daylight, we'll be able to really get a grasp of the gravity of how much water is out here, guys.
Yeah, but Mary, we are hearing that a lot. We're hearing that this is unprecedented, that a lot of folks who say, hey, this area, that gentleman is not alone in his perspective. A lot of folks are saying this has never happened before, and it is unprecedented. Yeah, we had Katie Legrone that was out in St. Petersburg, and she had to move from Shore Acres to downtown St. Pete, and another guy had also said that he had never seen flooding that bad, and they're always known to do that. So Mary O'Connell live for us there in Tarpon Springs. All right, we have some video, I believe, coming in from across the Bay Area. We want to start here in Madeira Beach. This is footage
from the All Seasons Vacation Resort inside the lobby here. It shows the floodwaters rushing through that lobby, blocking off the elevator entrances. The Gulf is inside the hotel at this point.
It
This
really
is
looks
wild.
like that. Yeah, it's a full river inside, and it's only rising from there. That is just so concerning. So much damage to so many buildings and homes. We have more images of flooding, and this is in Town and Country, of course, in Hillsborough County. Streets completely underwater there as are unpassable. We also know many traffic lights are out due to all the power outages in Hillsborough, along with all the other counties in Pinellas and Pasco. And so it's very, very concerning. Do not drive anywhere. Don't try to check out your neighborhood because, in fact, it will often look like this, and it's just not a good time to be out in it.
Well, you mentioned power outages. It is 11:02. We are waiting, hopefully, for the governor to do a news conference here, as we're also waiting to see if Hurricane Helene is going to make landfall. So as we wait for the governor to see what he has to say at this point, I really want to touch base on power outages because we had just talked about that. In Tico, 96,000 without power at Tampa Electric alone there. And then we were looking at
Duke Energy, yeah, 210,000, which, you know, in just an hour or two, it was half that, I feel like, around 9 or 10 o'clock. So more folks are out of electricity at this point. They have crews everywhere when the conditions, you know, are much safer. Of course, they will get your power turned on, but please be patient because it's not going to happen right away.
We also got a quick update from the city of St. Petersburg that they had to make a decision to turn off, I believe it was one of the utility stations. I need to pull this up here because what's interesting is basically they're cutting off water because it has inundated the stormwater system. And so meaning you're not flushing your toilets, you're not taking showers, there's no laundry, and they're doing this to protect the stormwater system. That's in the city of St. Pete. I can try to pull that up for us. I know that literally just came in a couple minutes
And this
ago.
happens often because it gets, you know, inundated and overloaded and it can't keep up. And a storm like this, as we saw because of the size of this storm up and down our coastlines, you know, of course, it can't keep up. There's no way. And as we're seeing the flooding as of now, and it's only getting higher, obviously, because the surge now, high tide is now starting now at 11 p.m., goes all the way till 2, 3 in the morning. I know Jason even said, I believe, in the Citrus area, 4 a.m. maybe. So we're going to see this for several hours. Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips, is there something that you wanted to talk about? No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, when I see him, I always think, oh, there must be a warning or something we need to know. But we should mention that we have this QR code right here. So if you take your phone and open your camera, it will take you to our Hurricane Center at abcactionnews.com. It has our website out there. Everything that you need to know when you scan this is on our website, including, of course, if you need help after the storm passes, it gives you all the emergency numbers that you need. So hopefully we can.
I think we're gonna go ahead and send it over as well to Dennis too, because Dennis, you are watching this really closely because at this point, any moment now, Hurricane Helene can make landfall.
Yeah, we're gonna get landfall literally any minute.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much right there. Officially, you get it from the Hurricane Center. And it's going to be in Perry. It's going to be the second straight year that we are going to have a massive hurricane. Last year, I believe it was 130. I think it was Cat 4.
So it was, and then they downgraded it to Cat 3 in there.
They brought it back down, yeah. So, I mean, and this one will be Cat 4 with winds of 140 miles an hour. For us, the winds are obviously beginning to taper off from our central and southern counties. It's still windy, but the peak winds, the ones 75, 80 miles an hour, the gusts that we had, are beginning, at least in the southern counties, to wind down, but still really nasty across Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus. But there it is. We still have that extreme wind warning for the purple area. And I'll tell you, Tallahassee is right on the fringe of the western eye wall, and they may look out. I mean, they may be 3-4 miles away from that eye wall. They're still going to get winds of 80 to 100 miles an hour. But within this western eye wall, it's certainly possible those winds could be 120, 130, even 140, because max sustained winds right now are still 140. And this purple air, that is the extreme wind warning with winds of at least 100 miles an hour. So overall, you can see how far this is away, no longer even close to hurricane winds, at least sustained winds. And we never did. We never had sustained hurricane winds. We did see gusts of 75, and even I think the highest I saw was 82 in one area, but still some very heavy rain. We're going to look back at this storm as a massive flood maker. I mean, I'm getting pictures, and folks, a buddy of mine who lives on the Alafaya, he said he's never, ever had water come into his house. Water is coming into his house. I've told you about my in-laws with water 3 feet in their first floor, and they have never flooded before, having lived here for 20 years. So, I mean, we are going to unfortunately see just a plethora of stories. And, you know, it's going to be a little interesting because typically after a hurricane, you know, you send out cameras and there's drones and they show you, you know, the outside damage, the wind damage. In this particular case, a lot of the damage is going to be on the inside. A lot of the damage is going to be homes that the water actually came in. And still, last check, Newport Richey with a gust of 79, Spring Hill, a gust of 79. So closer to the storm, obviously, that's where it's going on. My guess is that Governor DeSantis, who we're about to go to in a little bit, maybe he's waiting to see when landfall. I mean, because it's going to be any minute. So maybe he just wants to wait and say, all right, well, this is when landfall occurred. But southern counties, you see, while it is still windy, it's improving. And as quickly as this storm is moving, and by the way, we do have the new advisory that just came out a couple of minutes ago. Show it to you in just a second, but there it is. And as this storm continues to move north, winds of 140 miles an hour, that has not changed. Moving north-northeast at 24, that has not changed. The pressure actually dropped a millibar. So literally, this storm was at its strongest as it made landfall. And that's always the last thing that you want to see. I mean, just look at it. And, you know, you look at the satellite picture, it almost makes me think that there's a little something off with the offset of the base map because, like I said, this looks like it made it inland maybe 20 minutes ago, and it just hasn't. I mean, we're looking at our live radar, and you can see any second. In fact, Jason, I bet if we go on Twitter, X, whatever, if you go on it, it'll say, NHC will probably come out and say, all right, you know, this made landfall because it looks like it really has happened right there. And again, that's between St. Mark's and Perry and very, very close to Perry. Moving north-northeast, there's the updated track. Moving, boy, that track is pretty much due north, isn't it? In fact, it might even be, no, it's pretty much due north. And because it's moving so fast, we expect tropical storm conditions well into northern Georgia, you know, and potentially even into Tennessee. So as we said, this is going to be, unfortunately, Jason and I were just talking, like, well, I wonder if they're going to retire the name of this. There's no doubt they will. I mean, even if the wind was not extraordinary at 140, which it is, but when you see the kind of storm surge numbers that we have seen and the pictures that we keep getting, former Tampa Mayor Iorio texted me a few minutes ago and showed me some pictures of what's going on in Tampa. And my neighbors, some of my neighbors over closer to the water in Ozona is up above mailboxes. I mean, and it's going from Sarasota, Siesta Key, all the way up to Crystal River. And they haven't even really been experienced a lot of that surge yet in Crystal River. They will shortly. And because they are closer to the eye, closer to the center, those numbers are going to be even higher. Crystal River scares me. I think we're going to start seeing some really a lot of times Crystal River to Cedar Key is just that zone that gets a lot of surge with these storms. And they're kind of used to it, but they're not used to this. Because when you see numbers in excess of 10 feet and closer to 12 feet in some cases, that is extraordinary. That is something unprecedented we've never seen before. Power index, we're still getting power outages. I'm still hearing a lot of folks without power.
So the wind field didn't end up extending, as far out as they thought it would, as far as the extreme winds go.
Well, it depends on who you talk to and where they are, because originally, like before the updated wind forecast, it wasn't projected to hit most of Florida with tropical force storm winds. But my sister in New Smyrna Beach, which is directly south of Daytona Beach, said her winds were definitely higher than they originally predicted. So they updated the model to account for that, and maybe they over-updated it. But she said she definitely had higher winds there south of Daytona Beach than what they originally predicted.
Yeah, the gusts are coming through there. They're going to get
right with the rain bands, right?
Right, with the feeder bands that wrap around and come in, they're bringing in the gusts. I'm still getting pretty decent gust here. Um, but what they were experiencing as far as from the center outward, it didn't, it was bad, but it didn't go as far out as they thought it would as far as the 130-mile-an-hour winds. You know what I mean? Um, they're
Right,
not,
right,
they experiencing, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The real tight wind field of the strongest winds.
right. There's a
Um,
big difference between 70 and 100 and
mm,
130. Big
yeah,
difference.
yeah. And the gusts, you can handle those gusts a little bit better. They're dangerous because they can rip stuff apart. But that sustained wind is like, that's the scary.
Right.
Um,
That's the one that structures and trees end up yielding to. Like trees can take 140-mile-an-hour winds for 5 minutes, but you give them 100-mile-an-hour winds for an hour, and there's a good chance that tree's going over.
well, we have a lot of, we're known for the Florida pines. We don't get palm trees down here on this end, but we have a lot of Florida pines, and they're super tall and super bendy. Um, so like even after Hurricane Andrew, they have palm trees. A lot of the palms were twisted, turned, and different things. But they were no longer in straight lines. So what does Orlando do? Not Orlando, but Universal Studios, they built Dr. Seuss Land. There's no straight lines. They purchased all those trees from South Florida, and then they replaced them. And they took all those now crooked trees and brought them down there and put them in the park, and they're thriving because there's no straight lines. And these palm trees literally are all bent out of shape from hurricanes. But these pines here will literally, I've seen them out the window because I'll be watching. I can't help myself. I go outside during tropical storms. How long can we stand up? It's a thing, but don't do it during a hurricane. You will absolutely blow away. But I've seen the trees lay over. And during one of our storms, Aaron was at my girlfriend's house. We were riding it out there. We were looking out the window, and there was this tree near the house, but it would blow over to the left. Like the roots were coming up. We're just waiting for it to go down, right? And she lived near a canal, but it didn't flood there, but it got real super wet in the ground. But so the tree would go to the left and bend over, and as it would come back down it would go up and come back down into the ground. Water would squirt from the other side out of the ground. So then it would do the same process again. The tree would bend again in the wind, it would come back upright again, and then the water would squirt out the other side. We were entertained by that for like hours because there was nothing else to do but ride this hurricane out, and it was a daytime, so you could see the things that were going on. You see some crazy things in the daytime if you can actually. I'd prefer daytime hurricanes because they're not as scary.
Right. Well, guess what? This one's not a daytime hurricane.
That's the scariest thing for these people, because when it's nighttime and that water is coming like that, you can't even see what's floating towards you at that point. You know what I mean? And it's very dangerous. So let's see.
Across the area. Don't have the exact number. I'm sure Nadine.
To silent. Let me refresh him. I want to see if the governor starts yet. It may not. Oh, he's up. Let's see.
That are flooded and will continue to flood all up and down the west coast of Florida. So it's hazardous conditions right now. And please, do not be going outside until.
See, this sign language interpreter looks like she knows what she's doing. Like those look like real sign language.
Be hazardous, and we typically, unfortunately, will have fatalities.
You're gonna have to click on that other link before we're done.
When you are out on the roads in the middle of one of these storms, that is very, very dangerous. So please do not do that. Stay put. Also, if you're sheltering in place, know your surroundings in terms of trees. You are going to see trees that are going to get knocked down. I'm sure some have already been knocked down. But you have these 140-mile-an-hour winds hitting here in North Florida. This is going to extend. I mean, you're going to have hurricane force winds that are going to extend across a couple counties to the east and west of Taylor County. And that's going to cause trees to fall down. If you are in an area where you have that, please take precautions there. Treat it almost like a tornado as that's going by you for there. We have many major bridges that have been closed throughout today at various points. Most of the major bridges, of course, in places like Tampa Bay have been closed. And they will be open as soon as it's safe to reopen them. We have FDOT, they're standing by. As soon as it's safe, they're going to go in there, do the inspections, and get those bridges open again. You may, if you're here in North Florida, you may have a period of calm when you are in the eye of the storm. Just understand that storm is not done. And it's very, very hazardous to go out for there, especially with how fast this storm is moving. You're going to be putting yourself in jeopardy if you try to go out in the middle of the eye wall of the storm. We are going to see down power lines. Those are very hazardous as well. Please do not mess with any down power lines in and around your home or anywhere you may come in contact with them. Also, be very careful about standing water. People get up in the morning when it's light out. There's going to be standing water in a lot of parts of this state. Don't go trudging through that. There's going to be a lot of hazards that could be in there. And just please be mindful of that. The storm is going to pass. And when it does pass, you're going to have still going to be dark outside. Do not go out in the pitch black trying to navigate any debris or anything. That's just not going to be the safe thing to do. Wait till you get light and you can take stock of what's going on in your property and govern accordingly from there. When you're using ladders, please be safe with that. We do have fatalities involving people climbing on ladders, trying to get to their roofs and falling. And that happens almost every storm. Please just be very careful with that. And also, of course, there's going to be an enormous amount of debris in various places. And you could have down power lines. You could have dangerous objects. Just be very careful when you're around the debris. Also, be careful about using a generator. Do not use a generator inside your house. There have been power outages. There's going to be more power outages. You can use a generator, but make sure you're running it outside your home. Keep it away from windows and keep it away from the doors. We have not had fatalities in the more recent storms with misuse of generators, but that has happened in the past, and this is something that's very much avoidable. So the state is ready as soon as this storm passes and it's safe to do so to commence search and rescue operations. We have 3,500 National Guardsmen standing by. We have our state guards standing by. We have state troopers standing by, and they will be active if need be. And I know we have a lot of our local first responders are going to be ready to be able to be on scene as well as needed. We're also going to be ready for road clearing. There is going to be debris on the roads. We want to get these roads open. We want to make sure that people can travel safely. And so our Florida Department of Transportation is standing by for cut and toss operations. And those will begin as soon as it's safe to do so. They're also going to go in and inspect the bridges so we can ensure they're safe and can be reopened. They have 40 large pumps to be able to pump water out of areas that have flooded, as well as almost 700 generators. And then, of course, another mission is going to be power restoration. We have tens of thousands of linemen that are standing by. I think people have seen some of the pictures that we've seen from TECO, from Duke Energy, from FP&L, and they are going to be on scene probably as soon as it's light outside in the morning. And so you'll have I think they're going to get a lot done. Obviously, we're going to have to navigate this debris, and hopefully they're going to be able to have easy access to these power lines. But this is a priority to be able to get the power restored as quickly as possible. And then we're also standing by to help with disaster supplies for people that need them. We have meals ready to eat, of course, the water mission, bottled water, Starlink internet devices, fuel for folks who may need fuel. So that all is standing by and ready to be done. And there'll be a lot more that is going to be done as circumstances warrant. If you need assistance, non-emergency assistance after the storm, you can call the State Assistance Information Line at 1-800-342-3557. Now, this is not for emergencies. If you are in a situation where it's emergency, you make the normal emergency calls. This is for non-emergency assistance involving the aftermath of the storm, and we urge you to call that number if you need help. So we are here. We're going to face the storm in Tallahassee. I think we're on the west side of the storm, but I think the winds are actually going to be very, very significant. And even though the eye of the storm has entered into Taylor County, you are absolutely going to see major, major gusts in Jefferson County, in Wakulla County, in Leon County. That's going to happen. So we'll be here at the EOC through that process. And then when it's safe to kind of be liberated from here, we're going to be out and about surveying the damage and coordinating the response. With that, I will bring up Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Governor. Hurricane Helene is, as the governor mentioned, is currently making landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida. Please shelter in place, as the governor has said. Stay indoors. Again, I like his analogy of treat this like a tornado right now. Again, those individuals along Deckle Beach, maybe even as close to Steinhatchee, you're probably seeing very, very clear skies right now. That's because you're in the eye of the hurricane. If you can hear us and you have power, please do not go outside. That eye wall is going to close on the backside momentarily, probably within the next 15 to 30 minutes as it continues to make landfall. So please stay indoors. Roads are dangerous due to the flooding, debris, potential downlines. Do not risk it. We have numerous roads that FHP and DOT are responding to now that are underwater, and we do not want anybody to drive through that. So please, again, turn around, do not drown. You never know what's underneath that roadway. If you are hearing trees snapping in your area, take immediate shelter, go to an interior room away from windows and doors, most likely an interior bathroom. Close the doors and get as low as you possibly can. If you lose power and use the generator, do safely and never indoors, as the governor's already indicated. Once the storm passes, listen to your local authorities for updates. There may be situations where it's not safe for you to return back to your home. You can call ahead. You can talk to your local sheriff's office, your local police department, and see if they have anything that may be dangerous to where your area cannot actually be accessed. There's nothing more frustrating than coming back into an area after a disaster and you can't actually make it to your home. So call ahead and see if the area is accessible before you spend all the time in traffic trying to get back to your residence. Do not attempt to clean up hazardous debris or down power lines. Make sure you report the damage to local authorities. If you have damage, make sure you're calling your local emergency management agency or local 911 center. Please do not mess with power lines that are wrapped up in trees. If you do need assistance, as the governor said, you can call the State Assistance Information Line, 1-800-342-3557. Again, that's 1-800-342-3557. We have talked about this in just about every press conference we've done, but do not do dangerous things after the disaster. If you need help, we will send you help. If you need help, your local county emergency management agency will send you the help. We have folks like Team Rubicon, the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief, the Methodist, the Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, United Way. All of these agencies will come and help you take the debris off your house. They will help you take the debris out of your yard. They will get on ladders themselves with people that are trained to do so. And that is free of charge. Don't take the risk. Use the free assistance. You can always follow us at floridadisaster.org/updates for latest information, or you can follow us at FLSERT on.
You are listening into Emergency Management Director for the state of Florida, Kevin Guthrie, there for Governor's press conference there in Tallahassee, as we're watching very closely Hurricane Helene either just made or in the process of making landfall on Deckle Beach and Steinhatchee right now. The governor saying, Wendy, treat this like a tornado.
Mhm.
Go inside, find interior, protect yourself, especially up there in Tallahassee. Several roads are underwater. They don't want you going out until all of this has passed. But all of this right now really hitting Tallahassee and the Big Bend.
Yeah, and he also mentioned, we've talked about it before, Dennis talked about it a couple hours ago, generators. If you need to use one and you have one, please don't put it in your house, don't put it in your garage, don't put it near a window. Very, very dangerous. Make sure that generator is outside your home. And when the linemen they believe it's safe, they will be out to restore your power. So please be patient, because it won't happen until the sun is up and they know that the down power lines and everything else right now is just not safe in the dark to do anything. We have our Paul Agrone standing by in Tallahassee again, and I imagine that he has gotten a bit of what it feels like to go through a Cat 4 as we speak. Paul, the governor said, treat this like a tornado. Is that kind of what you're feeling right now?
Honestly, it comes and goes, guys. 2 minutes ago it was really intense. The wind was blowing right through this tunnel. Not as intense as Idalia when I was in Perry last year, but it seems like it's getting incrementally stronger. The wind, the rain now coming down. Here we go. And then there was a limb that came off the tree. I kind of tell myself, when the limbs start to drop, the BS stops, and you got to look out keep your eyes up and your head fixed on what you're doing, because you don't want to get whacked. But the wind, every now and then Helene throws a haymaker at you, and then it goes away. So it's kind of coming and going. That seems to be the rhythm of the storm right now. I will say that the traffic is almost non-existent here on Tennessee Street. We were still seeing people driving around. And then the power did briefly go out, but it came right back on. So they're winning the power war right now here in Tallahassee. We did see some explosions lighting up in the distance, and I can only think that was knocking over, interfering with power lines. So that's the story right now. And again, then you have this sort of calm lull, relatively calm. I mean, we're still in a hurricane, but and then it'll pick right back up again, and the wind will it just whips right back around, coming in from the northeast right now. It sounds like we're about to get another one. It's about like that, and then you just don't know how strong is it going to be, and you're sort of looking out for any kind of projectiles coming your way. But right now, steady as she goes, guys.
All right, Paul, stay safe out there. We want to get to Chad Mills now. He's live in Cross City up in Dixie County, northeast of Taylor County, where the storm just made landfall. So how's it going out there, Chad? Has the wind intensified?
Like Paul was saying, we're going through some of those lulls as well here in Cross City, which is in Dixie County along Florida's Big Bend. You can feel, well, you can't feel it, but we sure can. It's picking up strength right now. We're in one of those strong periods of gusty wind. I want to show you. This is about the size of branches that we're seeing snap around this lodge. You can see that wood is green, so this wasn't a dead tree by any means. And that force from this storm snapped this like a toothpick off the bigger tree and get this out of the way so it doesn't fly into any cars or anything like that. We'll set it there for now. But yeah, we are feeling this Cat 4 hurricane here in the city of Cross City. We are a good 10 to 15 miles from the coast where things are really hairy right now. So we are fortunate to be away from that life-threatening storm surge, but we are seeing a good amount of wind here at this historic lodge on Highway 98 in Cross City. You can see, again, we're in a bit of a lull right now. The wind not too sharp, but then all of a sudden it will pick up, and the raindrops kind of turn into like needles pricking your skin from this Cat 4 hurricane as it makes landfall not too far from where we're standing right now. We were in Steinhatchee earlier today, kind of talking to some of the people. Many of them got out of town, wanted nothing to do with Helene. Yesterday, in fact, we talked to a woman from Tennessee, a daughter, in fact, who was trying to convince her mother to leave because she was so close to the Steinhatchee River. In fact, her house was directly on it. It took 11 feet of storm surge during Idalia. Her mother, likely in her 80s, was being a bit stubborn, didn't want to leave, said she was afraid of looters, things like that. But when we drove by today, the house was essentially boarded up. There were sandbags at the door, no sign of life. It looks like they all did get out to safety, hopefully. but we are staying again well inland, and a lot of the evacuees are here as well. A lot of them sitting in the lobby of this hotel, watching the webcams that are still active, seeing that storm surge rise up. Some of those webcams, of course, losing power. So in many ways, they are in the dark right now, kind of wondering what Mother Nature is doing to their homes that they, a lot of them anyway, spent the better part of a year repairing after Idalia. Talking to the mayor of another coastal city nearby, he said they were just getting to the point where they felt comfortable about having the city up and running again, ready for tourism. They bring in a lot of people looking to go charter fishing, things like that. Of course, this is slated to be another big setback for these coastal communities.
Goodness. Let me, where'd it go? So I found this a few minutes ago, and this was 4 different webcams. It'll progress from earlier today into this evening. One of the screens I noticed will be a bridge we were all looking at earlier, but there's no sound. So, are you talking about food?
I always talk about food, but irony, I talk about more.
I felt like I don't, because I'll be like, I chewed a piece of gum and it made me hungry, like for real. Just it did. It's like grape gum, and I was like, man, I shouldn't have done that because now I like want food. But check this out. I was looking at this a few minutes ago. I'm going to bump it up a little. This is the bridge we were looking at earlier. And it got worse, and they were still trying to drive across it.
It got way worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see.
This is like 50% of how bad it got. Not even 50, like 25% of how bad it got.
And the wind was picking up. Well, am I going to get a swamp signal again? What's going on here? I noticed how even with the palm trees, they start to pick up as well. Look at that camera started shaking pretty bad. It's getting a little rougher up there with the palm trees and the Gulf on that camera. I'm searching around to find some live footage going down. That's the bridge on the top right that we were seeing earlier where the cars were passing on it.
Yes.
And we were like, yeah. Look, there goes the cop. He's like, what are you doing?
He's getting splashed too.
Yeah. That is crazy. I know those bridges are closed. Like, they got to send the Department of Transportation in to even inspect them. You never know when you cross someone, there could be a section gone that you don't even realize is, like we had that happen with one of our bridges where the guy didn't make it, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when the wind and the waves and the water are blowing like that and across your windshield, it's kind of very, very similar to driving in a blizzard in the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's like you're
analogy. Yeah.
You're just kind of have feelers out in front of your car. And if you're going 10 miles an hour, you'll probably be fine. If you're going 20 miles an hour, you'll probably be fine. If you're going 40 or 50 or 60, you may not be fine. You may find yourself in a ditch or off of a bridge or getting swept over by a wave or something because you're going faster than the conditions are allowable. Yeah.
Exactly. You're traveling at unsafe speeds at that point. Let's see, is it because it started getting way more rough? These roads are like a lot of the roads around, well, not a lot, the roads on the beach, basically, not like in town, but downtown Pensacola is very low lying. It floods super easy. But those things are just crashing past the seawall. I mean, over here on the top left, that's some pretty good flooding at that red light intersection.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that car's up above its bumper, like halfway up its headlights, probably.
And the rule is turn around so you don't drown. I mean,
exactly. Goodness. Yeah, I'll put that baby in reverse. What are you doing sitting there getting ready to go across that intersection? That's just stupid.
Why would you even be out in those conditions at that point? You shouldn't need. No one's going to be open to sell you what you forgot or just got to have right at that moment.
Right.
So I don't understand even the need to be out there driving in it.
The only reason would be to evacuate. If you waited till the last minute to evacuate and you think that you can make it through that intersection, and I'm not saying that's a smart decision. I'm just saying some people wait till the last minute and they're like, all right, we're going to go now. And then they're the ones in that white car at that intersection. They're like, shit, we decided to evacuate, but do we drive through this? And then they drive through it and they get stuck and they have to be rescued. And
well, I get that, and I've been that person that needed to evacuate and didn't, but I'm not. I think I would second guess getting in that car.
Yes,
like, I done made one bad decision. I need to go make another one.
No, and I wouldn't even second guess going through the intersection in that car. I'd be like, hell,
no, it's raging right across the center there, right?
No, yeah, it's only getting worse from there, guys. It's not getting better.
To the other side.
Yeah, it's not getting better. It's only getting worse.
Okay, that must be a different image on the upper left up there.
No, the hurricane rearranged everything for us.
Yeah.
We have streetlights now where they weren't before.
That guy turned around. He's like, I think that's the cops down there got it blocked off.
Good choice, dude. Very good choice.
Yeah. He's like, damn, I gotta go back. Damn.
What am I going to tell the wife? Tell her that you were smart and you didn't take unnecessary risks. That's what you tell her.
So that is the Howard Franklin Bridge on the upper right there. It's just taking a pounding. Or pretty steady for hours, because now it's dark there. Uh-oh, they got pretty good flooding going over here on the bottom left.
So that's the reason. That's the reason why bridge construction should include flexibility. It's just like the pine trees where you're at versus the palm trees. If you're able to bend and flex with the storm surges and the winds and the waves, you might be able to stay intact and stay, a viable bridge. Whereas if you were a solid concrete bridge and you had no give to you, you would already have been destroyed. So that's where I think DOT designers in Florida actually are pretty freaking smart, because they're getting around to the point where they're designing bridges that are more flexible and that have some bend and some give to them.
Our new 3 Mile Bridge is like that, because the 3 Mile Bridge connects Pensacola over to the peninsula, which is where Gulf Breeze and Pensacola Beach are actually located. And so when that bridge went down, because of first of all, it was old and they decided to get a new one. So then it got damaged during the storm as it was being constructed. But all that aside, when that bridge was out of commission, people who lived in the Gulf Breeze area, worked in Pensacola, had to go an hour and a half out of their way to get to and from, and versus 20 minutes across the bridge. So it's the key to build them to where they can sustain these storms is important, because if they go down, it's a pain. It's a big headache. And then we had the I-10 bridges go down because the one collapsed during Ivan. That was also a nightmare, because you had to commute the other way. It's crazy. But they are getting way better at designing, and even our housing, and the building codes have improved a lot over the years to withstand all that wind,
Right.
but get that storm surge. Now, where I used to live, there were 1-story ground level houses. Now, if people who rebuilt there after Ivan had to go on stilts, and and the homes on Pensacola Beach, any of the new builds out there, their whole bottom floor, it's not really a floor, it's open, they're on stilts. You can enclose it, but you can't put anything under there. It has to be breakaway walls for the water to flow under them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things they've learned over the years. But they learned a lot after Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida, even with the roofs and building codes with that. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, so Butterfly says, can we play the Santa video? So can you pull up that?
Is that the one? Okay, let me see.
Governor Kemp. It's the one that says Governor Kemp.
And I guess it will work. I've never done a link from back here, guys. It would be the first one you sent?
The second one. The last one.
Facebook. Oh, the last one.
WTVM.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay. Can you guys still hear me and see me?
Yep, we gotcha.
Okay. Let me push play and tell me if you can see it.
Nope. Nothing.
No?
Nope.
I hope this doesn't throw me out of StreamYard. Let's see. How do I get out of this? Oh. It says this tab is playing in audio. Yeah, it was playing in one of... I don't know how to make it play in here on StreamYard. Do you know how?
If you open it in a tab, you should be able to present and share it, right?
Let me see. Open. Yeah, let me try this. Okay, let me get that gone. Maybe I can do it this way. Okay, let's see. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. You guys can see it?
Yep.
All right.
It's not having access to 1 million industrial grade products.
Oh, yeah, they got the ads.
Whoops. Oh, shit. I clicked on the stupid ad. Versus I got trigger happy. Skip ad.
Watch Santa Interpreter.
Got a lot for you today, so it may take me a little bit to get through this, but I just want to thank Director Stallings. I know you've been hearing from him over the last 24, 48 hours. I want to thank him and the GEMA team that are here. Certainly General Wilson, the Georgia National Guard, Agriculture, and his team, Insurance Commissioner King and his team, Attorney General Carr's with us, the Department of Public Safety, Georgia DOT, Department of Natural Resources, including the Environmental Protection Division, the Georgia Forestry Commission's with us, Department of Corrections, and a lot of local emergency first responders and many other partners that are here in the
He's just
operations.
he's
Wanted to walk you
just
through
got some
just real
hand
quick,
signs in there
what
that
Director
just don't
Stallings has
seem
been
right to
talking to you
me.
about the last day or so on what we've done to prepare for the storm.
What is that?
We've declared a state of emergency, as you know, for all
It's a little
159 counties
aggressive.
on Tuesday, giving emergency
He's
management
into it.
teams
He's
plenty of
into his
time to
job.
prepare and also deployed resources where needed ahead of this storm.
Oh,
In my direction, Director Stallings
those signs.
activated the State Operations Center at full scale level yesterday morning so that we could continue to prepare and monitor the storm's progress and coordinate closely with all relevant agencies on the state, local, and federal level. As part of the state of emergency, I've authorized up to 500 Georgia Guardsmen should they be needed. I also asked FEMA, and the FEMA folks are with us here too. I want to thank them for their support. I asked them yesterday to grant us a pre-impact emergency declaration to further help get resources where they need to go. That declaration was granted this morning, and again, want to thank our federal partners for that. We have put considerable state resources toward this, literally all across state government. The Georgia National Guard, as I mentioned, we got 250 called up now with the ability to go to 500. We'll go to whatever we need as we see that need develop. General Wilson
He's like making facial gestures with his hand gestures.
Public Safety, Colonel Hitchens, all troopers and officers are available and on duty.
Yes.
In what they call as a Phase A condition. Department of Natural Resources,
He's so
we have
into it.
120 Ranger teams called up for duty, 7 task force teams, and 24 strike teams ready to go that will respond as needed to help clear roads, conduct water rescues, provide security, and deliver critical supplies. Commissioner McMurray's with us, the Georgia Department of Transportation. We have crews literally embedded all across the state to help remove debris.
Oh my gosh.
It is not necessary for you to be on the roads during and after this storm. Please try to stay
Butterfly.
home. This
He is
is a
going to
big
fly
storm.
away.
It is going to affect our entire
And he doesn't
state.
need a sled
we feel
and
certain
a
we're
tiny
going to be
reindeer.
having to remove debris and clear roads statewide. So instead of deploying a bunch of resources to one part of the state like we normally would do before,
Yes, Forrest. Yes, I get it, and I'm not making fun
in
of
all
people
parts
who
of
are
the
hearing
state.
impaired
So we're going to
or
have a lot
sign
of
language
people that we need to
interpreters.
get moving to the
It's just
get
I
the
find
roads
this
clear.
guy extremely dramatic in
in a way
his
that's just going to slow down our
signing.
progress, and it's very dangerous.
That's why
as well as you remember in the
this
last
is
Watch. If he right, it's the his expressions, man, make it appear
Yes.
like he's being super aggressive. He is quite animated, Forrest.
Yes. So I'm not making fun of people who are hearing impaired or sign language interpreters. Don't get me wrong. I just this guy is like
No, not at all.
if he's actually
Yeah.
so there have been people who have been caught fake signing, and I think one of them was in the state of
Yeah.
Florida, but this is Georgia. But I'm not saying at all that he's fake signing. I'm just saying he is super, super animated for his job.
I mean, I understand you shouldn't be up there. Whoa, dude, you shouldn't be up there laughing. But he's like getting like there's not a riot taking place. It's a hurricane. It's a hurricane, dude. It just got a good wind gust outside. I heard it. Crazy. That wind field stretched out. I don't think it might be a 30 mile an hour gust at times out there, but it's not like sustained or anything, which would be like a tropical storm force wind field stretching out. But I don't think it's quite that high either, but it's pretty darn gusty out there. Wow, that dude is pretty aggressive. Okay, so let's
He's very passionate about his job.
well, yeah. There, where'd it go? Whoops, that's Was this the one? No. I wanted to see if I could see. Where's my favorites? Where'd it go? So
He was signing above and beyond the Call of Duty.
y'all, we ain't right.
It's like when Radar got promoted on MASH for bugling above and beyond the Call of Duty. And then he became Lieutenant O'Reilly, and he didn't like it.
I wonder if you guys can see this. Let me test it out here. Oh, okay. This set, can you see that? If I look at it, it looks blurry because the way I got StreamYard set up on the computer.
It's clear here. It's clear on my end.
I can see a clear version in what you.
Yes.
So at 10:30 p.m., this was a buoy that was west. It was 112
nautical miles.
Yeah. So but the gusts were knots and wind knots, 43 knots. So that was in nautical winds. But that was just one buoy that was close to Tampa. See, I had one with a map that would show you.
Wait. Go back to that one. I want to see the water temp.
Okay. I had one that with a map that
there's no water temp. There's air temp and dew point.
Yeah, sometimes they will have the water temp, but there was a map that you could go and you could click on specific buoys, and it would pull up the data from the buoy. But you could go choose where the buoy was at. You wanted to, this one doesn't have a map. It's like that's Orange Beach. That's near me, but I was looking for ones that were like Dolphin Islands can be closer to Mobile, Alabama, which is too far away to even get anything from down there. They were only reporting a 26 knot there. Some of the buoys don't show all their data. Cedar Key, that would be interesting to see. 52 knots. Now as far as the interpretation of that, that's not too far off from like regular winds, right? As far as mile per hour. I have to pull up a conversion chart because I don't remember it by heart.
40 knots. 40 knots is what, like 35 miles an hour?
Yeah, it's like
It's a little brisk. It's a little breezy.
Yeah. Let's see, Fort Morgan, Alabama. That's over here. Grand Isle.
I think Jenny should go back to Greenbow, Alabama.
Greenbow, Alabama. I have to find that weather buoy thing again. The map I used to have and like save it, so I can always go back to it. Let's see, because there was something else I had here I wanted to. Oh, this is the current radar from NOAA. Okay, let's see. And we'll go back to YouTube and see if we can find some stuff. I was pretty impressed with the west side of that storm, though. It held together a lot better than they thought it would, and it stretched out a little further than they thought it would on the west side.
Yeah, that low pressure front that was coming in from the western part of the states, like pushed against that and like squished it. And damn, that's like almost right on their models. That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
Like I was saying earlier, they got so much better at predicting. A few years back, you wouldn't have predicted it that far out.
Well,
in the before it ever entered the Gulf, it was they just didn't do it that way, and now they're able to.
You know what? But the spaghetti models still are all over the place. Like Ian was only what, 2.5, 3 years ago, and they were
Well,
way off. They were way off on Ian because they thought
yeah,
that was going to hit Tampa. They thought it was kind of going to do what Helene here did, but like take a right turn and hit Tampa head on. And what she did was when she came around Cuba, is she took a hard right turn towards Fort Myers and Lee County, and then as soon as she got inland, she went straight up the middle of Florida, or he did. Ian went straight up the middle of Florida. So all of those spaghetti models were off, except for maybe like one or two outliers, right? Because
yeah.
the spaghetti models are crazy. And then Dorian before that, Dorian was the one that sat over the Bahamas for like 4 days. And they thought that was going to hit Florida. And instead, she took a right turn and she sat over the Bahamas for 4 days and totally destroyed those islands. Like the Grand Bahamas were they're still recovering from that.
Yeah.
Yes, they're getting better. I will not disagree that they're getting better. But this one, all of the models predicted that Helene was going to do exactly what she did. So it's like, how did they predict that? Like, what information are they getting and putting into their models that they knew exactly what she was going to do?
Well, they're taking into account all the other systems at play and the timing of it all. It comes down to that when they're forecasting, they'll start talking about any other systems out there, like the low pressures and the things that are coming into play that will begin to interact. If they can time all that out, and they're releasing the GOES 19, it's already out there, but they're going to start implementing and using the GOES 19 soon, which is going to replace GOES 16, I think. And we're talking badass satellite imagery, right? That can tell good they've gotten at it because of the technology and the radar as far out as they're able to see as to what will hold and what won't hold, as far as they're taking a track. As far as this looks like it's out of Tallahassee.
Carolinas.
Helene battering coastal towns with storm surge ahead of landfall. Deputies were seen ready to rescue residents in high waters in Fort Myers Beach. We have live team coverage from the storm zone.
And our Weather Authority team is standing by to break down the latest advisory.
Oh, gosh darn. Rescuing people from Fort Myers Beach.
Christian De La Rosa and Sarah Onmore are in Tallahassee, but we begin with Christian tonight.
Yeah, let me go ahead and zoom you wide to give you the best point of view of what we're experiencing. We are sitting.
I'm going to walk outside with my phone and listen while this guy talks and see if it's still gusty out there. I'll be listening.
On the edge of our seats. So is everyone that's staying in this area for what is to come in the next half hour. In the next hour, we are noticing the winds picking up, pretty strong wind gusts, also the rain. Look at these trees. We're beginning to see these winds moving through, and the effects that those gusts could have on these trees are the biggest concern here in Tallahassee. But about an hour south of us, along the coast, it is the storm surge combined with the wind, and we are getting reports that storm surge is moving into areas like Perry, like Sinhatchee, and those powerful wind gusts are moving our way. And so over the next hour, we're expecting the possibility of losing power. We've been talking about how we've seen the lights flickering here at our hotel. I do want to send you to an interview that we did with members of the Red Cross that are here on standby, ready to respond. Take a listen.
My concern is the people that didn't evacuate, that should have evacuated.
Is the damage that could happen with all these trees. I mean, just around this hotel, there's a lot of trees. And up here, there's not a lot of palm trees. There's tree. I'm going to call them tree trees. So once the wind gets going, there could be a lot of damage.
Anxious. This is pretty big storm. I've been through a lot of them. So this is, yes, pretty.
So like I said, a lot of anxiety, also with the potential of a lot of roads becoming impassable. Some of these trees falling on structures. We'll continue to monitor for you, but that is the latest here. Guys, back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot to Kristen. Our Syra Anwar is standing by with much more on Helene's impact in Tallahassee. Syra.
And Calvin, I'm standing just steps away from the state capitol building here in Tallahassee. The Tallahassee area is no stranger to hurricanes. They experienced several recently. Most recently, Hurricane Debbie. They had Hurricane Idalia back in 2018. They saw Hurricane Michael, but everyone we spoke to today said this one is just going to hit differently. The Tallahassee mayor said they are expecting unprecedented catastrophic damage from Hurricane Helene. It's not a matter of if this area is going to lose power, but rather when. We're seeing winds pick up right now. Again, just waiting for Helene to come through this area. I'll let you take a look at the trees in this area. Christian mentioned that there's a lot of tree-lined streets here, certainly a threat to structures in this area, but again, a big threat to power lines in this area, which again, the downing of power in this area is imminent, and there are tens of thousands of linemen just ready to respond when power does go out in this area, waiting to just restore that. We did get to tour the Emergency Operations Center for Taylor County earlier this morning. We're getting reports of a lot of power outages in Perry, so the efforts could already be underway in Perry, Florida right now. That was actually under a mandatory evacuation for everyone in that area. Here in Tallahassee, there was a mandatory evacuation for people in structures that are deemed unsafe, like mobile homes and other weak structures that could be more prone to getting blown over, getting damaged, having roofs collapse in here too. So just a lot of concern of what this storm, what this hurricane is going to bring. A lot of people who did not evacuate the last 2 or 3 hurricanes changed their minds for this one. They say this one's going to be different. This one's going to be a doozy. They are leaving. They've boarded up their businesses. So we are here again, expecting to see those impacts hit pretty soon here in Tallahassee. So we'll keep you updated on everything we see. That is the very latest live here in Tallahassee. Syra Anwar, Local 10.
Salty, where you at? Oh no, don't make me share something. I don't have anything in queue, so I'm going to have to find it. National Weather Service hurricane and tropical storm watches. That is not the newest NOAA. Come on. All right, this is an hour ago. Oh, for crying out loud. Yeah, where'd it go? 11 minutes ago. Orlando Sentinel, Big Bend.
Okay, I'm here. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, okay. Let me go back over here. Whoops.
I'm going to share this.
What you got? Let me see it. Let me get it up there.
Taking over our location right now.
All right. That was 22 seconds of a lot of mostly nothing. That's not a big one. Fort Myers Beach always has to be in the news. 8:18 p.m. Let's try this. This is kind of what it's like in a search and rescue boat. That's actually a pretty good representation of it. And we won't do that. Here we go. It's only 13 seconds, but there's so many things that can go wrong and only 2 things that can go right. Salty, are you with us? I see you're muted. There you
Oh,
are.
I'm here. There, yes, I am. Did you? I thought you were getting ready to share a screen.
Did it not share?
I was looking for something over here. Let me see, what time is it? There should be. Let me check something. Can you see me or hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, Butterfly says she can't see or hear. I didn't know if she meant me right now or. Okay, there's no actual update from them right this second. I'm looking at that was earlier. So let me go here and look at the official sites real quick. Okay.
Interesting. Thanks, Butterfly.
Looks like it was earlier. Let me see. Then it goes into. Okay. Oh, there's Mike.
Them a little bit and showing the damage and where it's bad. And what I usually try to do is cover what nobody else is covering, and that might be little towns, little areas that might not be in the mainstream media. So I took a ride out here to this little town at St. Mark's, beautiful little beach town, or not really a beach town, we have beaches in Clearwater, little restaurant town. There's seafood everywhere, and it's just, I love these little towns. I love the downtowns of these, the looks of these towns, and it's just heartbreaking to think that they're going to have 15-20 foot of surge. So I just try to bring the messaging. I guess that's my number one goal. Is I like to educate myself, see it, so when I talk about these storms, I can be on more of an intimate level with people and say I've seen it. This is what we're going to see, and then show it afterwards, and hopefully keep everybody educated for the next one.
Mike, my last question for you, as you have covered a lot of these storms, Helene, what can the impact be? Is this really going to be as detrimental as we have been hearing?
Well, if it heads straight to Tallahassee, yes. The east side of the storm has got the bigger winds. If this thing goes to the east, that Tallahassee will have less of the big winds, but that moves on to another town. And I guess the big story is there's little towns that have dealt with Idalia and Debbie could be dealing with their third hurricane in 2 years, and that's not something that we see a lot. So, I feel terrible for those folks. They get forgotten a lot, and they're still recovering. But a major hurricane brings those winds, and it brings down trees, and it brings we have roof damage. You have power lines are going to snap. I was covering Beryl, and I showed people the power of a Category 1 just a few months ago. That was the storm that Houston was out of power for weeks, 2 million people, and that was just a Category 1. And we saw power lines down, trees that are 2-3 foot wide snap in half. I mean, so Category 3 winds are no joke, and this area has got a lot of trees. So I don't want to predict we're going to see a lot of catastrophic damage, but history says we will. And the surge is the other side of it. There's a lot of beautiful little towns along the Gulf Coast that were affected with Idalia, but this surge, we're talking 20 foot. And if this thing keeps getting stronger, 20 foot's a real reality. And that's, so yeah, it's going to be terrible. Trust me. We're already seeing surge like you just showed in my hometown of Tampa Bay, and they've never experienced 8-foot storm surge in Tampa Bay. And that'll be a story that I'm afraid will make, news that a lot of folks didn't have planned for. So this is a big storm. Like I said, inland effects way up to Georgia, the mountains are going to get flash flooding. We got tornadoes in the Carolinas. I mean, it's not just the landfall. This type of system affects so many people in different ways.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you coming on, and I know we're going to be checking in with you a little bit later as well as we continue our coverage. So please stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you a little bit later today. All right?
Yeah, I think I'm scheduled for around 6-ish. I don't remember, but it's going to be a lot rougher outside than it is now. We might play around with the camera angles and have my main camera point out so we can get some good real footage inside the storm.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm sure our viewers would appreciate that as you are out there in the thick of it. So again, stay safe. We'll see you later, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks to Mike there. And we did also want to jump back to our Tampa coverage that we've been jumping in and out of all day here between Orlando affiliates.
Miles per hour, and
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was muted. I was looking to see if they had anything like right now closer to the update. That was a guy named Mike from Mike's weather page. I have followed Mike for years. I used to follow him on Facebook, but I don't go on Facebook anymore. So I follow him on Twitter, which I have for a long time, and on YouTube. Mike has really great content, and he's got a really great website. So if you ever want to check something out, you can check out Mike's weather page.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He's the real deal.
Yeah, I do like him a lot.
But he also perpetuates spaghetti models, and we all get frustrated with the spaghetti models.
Yeah, he'll make fun of them too, and
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is with him and those damn spaghetti models. But like I said, they're a big joke here in Florida. Anyway, okay. Let's see.
All right, I'm about to have to log off here.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do the same. I don't really know what I'm doing tomorrow. I think our schools are open because we're not really getting any effects here. So we, as far as I know, and I checked earlier, they were still planning on doing that, but I'm not sure. I think I might be home tomorrow. So I'll probably go live tomorrow with a recap and an update on the damage that starts to trickle in the morning. Some news stuff will come out, and I'll get some stuff together to take a look and give an update on it then. But I appreciate you coming up and hanging out for a little while with me here.
All right, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and so anybody that came in and gave us a listen, we appreciate it. We really do. We hope you come back for future shows. We do true crime, but this was a news case, so we're covering it. Plus, I being from Florida, I just really feel for all the people down there that have to experience this. And Joe is in the field where he helps and organizes all this stuff. So to go in and help the victims out once all this is said and done. Thank you, Forrest, for coming in. We appreciate you coming, and we just wanted to try to keep some word out there. And people are out there experiencing the storm and do have some power on their phone and can get a signal. Maybe they can listen in and get some updates of what's going on around town. But if not, we can inform each other. So again, everybody, thanks for coming in. And we're going to be getting back to true crime in the next show or two. But I'll probably come back tomorrow at least to do a recap on this and anything else we may want to talk about. So again, all right, have a good night, everyone.
Take care. Peace out. Be well.